So how did we get here? Well, we started with a very wet fall. We had precipitation amounts that were roughly double what they should be. That's very significant in the month of September. Vegetation in September doesn't typically take a lot of water out of the soil. The vegetation is kind of done growing. So most of that rain becomes runoff. If you remember, we had a big flood in Minnesota in September, never before in history. So that was pretty unique. Factor number 2 is a lot of snow. It's the second snowiest winter on record. Our winter, in meteorological terms, is December, January, and February. So we're done in our mind with winter. It's too bad the outdoors doesn't go by our calendar. It's also the 4th wettest winter if we were to melt the snow, count the rain and all of that we receive. Factor number 3 is kind of a wild card factor. In fact, all the rest are wild card factors now. But number 3 is how deep is the frost in the ground, or how far down is the soil frozen. Frozen soil doesn't absorb water very well. So if you have a lot of frost and the snow melts quick or it rains, it just runs right off. But the wild card this year is the ground is already so wet, we don't have a lot of frost because we've had a lot of snow that's done a great job insulating the ground. So we're not really sure how that'll play out, whether the ground will actually be able to absorb a whole lot of water. The 4th factor is how much additional rain or snow we get in the spring months before the snow finally melts. That's kind of a wild card. What I will tell you, though, is we got another storm coming for Tuesday and Wednesday that we probably will see 6 inches or more here in the Twin Cities. Double digits are not out of the question. Somebody in the Minnesota River Valley could see 12 to 15 inches again. In a typical year, we would see no more than 1 8-inch or greater snowfall in the Twin Cities. This year, we've got 3 going. And 2 of the biggest snowfalls in the top 10 list all occurred this winter. So that's what's adding insult to injury here. And after this Tuesday and Wednesday, way down the road, which we sometimes at work call fantasy land in terms of forecasting weather, we see 2 more big storms. And when I say way down the road, they're off the Russia right now, so they're a long, long ways away. But what I want to get across here is it's going to be a very active weather pattern for the upper Midwest for the next 2 weeks. Whether that's Minnesota or not, it remains to be seen. And the last factor in terms of a big flooding event in the spring is how fast that snow melts. Last year we didn't have that much snow, and we didn't have that much water in the snow, but what we had last year was the fastest melt we've ever seen on record. We had a March and an April last year that saw no snowfall in the Twin Cities. That's never happened in the modern record either. So again, it gets back to this whole idea of normal. We don't see normal too often up here. If it was to be normal conditions from here on out, that means about another 1.5 inches of precipitation this month if you were to melt snow, so maybe 15 inches of snow this month. And if we had a normal April, about 2.5 inches of rain, or in April maybe about 7 inches, 8 inches of snow. If the temperatures were normal, which right now would be 35 during the day, at the end of March that would be 49 during the day. If all of that happened, we would still have between Henderson and Shakopee about a 40% chance to 50% chance of exceeding the 1965 record, which to us is tremendous. In any given year, we have about a 2 or a 3% chance. So, most years, I've been here in the Twin Cities for 10 years, and I've never seen numbers like we're seeing now. And if the record falls from here on down to St. Paul, I won't be surprised. It's going to take a set of unique circumstances not to have at least 2001 levels. And those unique circumstances would be an incredibly slow melt and very little additional rain or snow. But you've already heard me say there's a fairly significant storm on track here for Tuesday and Wednesday, and then a couple of more down the road. So I guarantee you we will see water as high as we saw last spring and last fall. There is no doubt about that. We will see major flooding almost everywhere along the entire Minnesota River this year. The question is how severe will that flooding be, and will we get to record levels? That's what remains to be seen, and ultimately Mother Nature will dictate that. I'm in charge of the office, but certainly not the weather, so that's kind of a good thing.